Okay, we're resuming our discussion of OT2, or the auditing of implants in Scientology upper levels. I read off a list of some of the GPMs, or goals, problems, masses, that are audited in Scientology. Now you may think this is silly, but I actually sat in a room at one point, seated at a table, holding on to my e-meter, and audited out these GPMs, or implants, from my mind. The result for me was that I became psychotic. I'm not sure how other people react. For example, one of the GPMs, or implants, is called the Laughter Calm GPM. Hubbard writes, "This takes place in a cave. It is 7 1/8 of a second in duration. It has screams of laughter, very wild and calm. It is a pole with a split in it. Laughter comes from the rear half and calm from the front half, simultaneously. Then they reverse. It gives one a sensation of total disagreement. The trick is to conceive of both at the same time. This tends to knock one out. Try auditing that one." Another GPM, or implant, is called the Dance Mob GPM. And it's given as occurring 18,992 trillion years ago. In all seriousness, I sat there, hooked up to my e-meter, and tried to audit this on myself. The explanation is as follows. The duration is 7/8 of a second. There is a pole that pulls one in. One is caught on the pole. The actual incident is in connecting with this thing and trying to get off it. The dancing comes after the actual incident and consists of a mob dancing around one, chanting various things. In running this, get the phrases that are chanted. And as a pre-clear, I was expected to audit this implant on myself, assuming that it actually happened to me in the past, and to flatten it, to get the charge off of it. Okay, we'll go to the third level, or OT3, known in Scientology as the Wall of Fire. This is the level to which Scientologists look forward to most eagerly, for it is on this level that Hubbard promises they will at last learn the great secret of this sector of the universe. A great deal of mythology surrounds this level. According to Hubbard, it is this long-lost secret that accounts for the current degraded condition of man. Once you know the secret of OT3, Hubbard promises, you'll then understand the world today and why it is the way it is. OT3 reads like this, and I did the OT3 level on a sunny summer day. I was given the materials in a locked room and then taken across I put them into my locked briefcase, went across the hall, had the door unlocked for me, went and sat down, unlocked my briefcase, opened up the materials, and began to read. And this is what I read. The head of the Galactic Confederation, 70 planets around larger stars visible from here, founded 95 trillion years ago. Very space opera. solved overpopulation, 250 billion or so per planet, 178 billion on average, by mass implanting. He caused people to be brought to TGAC, or Earth, and put an H-bomb on the principal volcanoes, known as Incident 2, and then the Pacific ones were taken in boxes to Hawaii, and the Atlanta ones to Las Palmas, and there packaged. His name was Xenu. He used renegades. Various misleading data by means of circuits, etc., was placed in the implants. When through with his crime, loyal officers to the people captured him after 6 years of battle and put him into an electric mountain trap where he still is. They are gone. The place, Confederacy, has since been a desert. The length and brutality of it all was such that this confederation never recovered. The implant is calculated to kill, by pneumonia, etc., anyone who attempts to solve it. This liability has been dispensed with by my technical development, meaning Hubbard's. One can freewheel through the implant and die unless it is approached as precisely outlined. The freewheel, auto-running on and on, lasts too long, denies sleep, etc., and one dies. In December '67, I knew somebody had to take the plunge. I did, and emerged very knocked out but alive. Probably the only one ever to do so in 75 million years. I have all the data now, but only that given here is needful. Good luck. Well, I read this, and we broke for lunch. And I went outdoors after reading this, the secret that I'd been waiting for years and paying thousands of dollars to learn, and a curious thing happened to my mind. I was like a computer that could not compute. I believed what I read because I was hypnotically trained to believe everything that Hubbard said or wrote. But yet, it was so absurd, I couldn't believe it. So what happened to me was my mind simply froze. It stopped working. It jammed. After that, I became psychotic and remained in that state for quite a few years. I'm not sure what happens to other people in Scientology. I can only speak for what happened to me. In subsequent OT3 bulletins, Hubbard explains further. Millions of years ago, an evil dictator of the Galactic Federation decided to solve the overpopulation problem in this galaxy by rounding up people, freezing them, and shipping them to Earth on spaceships. I told you this was science fiction. They were deposited on 2 volcanoes, one at Las Palmas, one in Hawaii. Then nuclear explosions were set off, blowing the frozen souls into the stratosphere, where they were collected by electronic ribbons, or force fields, and brought back to Earth, where they were packaged into clusters. And you, my friend, are such a cluster. After packaging, they were subjected to implants, in which they were shown many different scenes on huge screens. Then they were released. And so, according to Hubbard, the great secret of this sector of the universe is that each person on Earth isn't just a single person, but a collection or cluster of hundreds of different entities. The entities attached to the person are called body thetans in Scientology. On OT3, the Scientologist learns how to, while connected to the e-meter, locate and contact these invisible entities, and to audit them through the nuclear explosion and the implant that occurred 75 million years ago. As a result, according to Hubbard, the entity becomes free to fly off and live a life of its own. And I, the pre-clear, would become lighter and have more supernatural abilities. To do this, the Scientologist, alone in a locked room, hooked up to the e-meter, telepathically locates an entity attached to some part of his body. He asks the entity telepathically which volcano he was taken to, Las Palmas or Hawaii, while watching for reads on the e-meter. He must telepathically audit the entity through Incident 2, which includes the following sequence. H-bomb dropped on volcano. Explosion. Terrific winds. Thetan carried over peak. Electronic ribbon came up. He stuck to it. It was then pulled down and he was implanted with an implant called R6. If the entity does not leave after auditing on Incident 2, then it is necessary to audit this entity on Incident 1, which consists of loud snap, waves of light, chariot comes out, turns right and left, cherub comes out, blows horn, comes close, shattering series of snaps, cherub fades back or retreats, blackness dumped on Thetan. Let's take a little break. This has been a lot of material.